What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of UbiChat, a Ubisoft Fan Podcast where we cover everything under the Ubisoft sun. I'm one of your hosts, Nate, and with me, as always,
Nick.
Yes, Nick. It's very early for us, so we both have that little bit of gruff in our voice, so hopefully that'll stay around for the rest of the show. Yeah. You never know.
Give you something good.
Give you some of that good.
Yeah, you're drinking your coffee in your car. I see you.
Yeah.
One
Hi,
hand
Jeff.
on
What you doing, Jeff?
the wheel.
Yeah.
Just chilling. Like, I got to do.
So, we're already starting off good. So, welcome to UbiChat. We are a bi-weekly show. We used to be formerly known as Hope County Radio. We initially had a Far Cry podcast, but decided to transition to this show to kind of cover more Ubisoft games as a whole and kind of show our love. Give them all of our love. You know, they deserve it. They need it. They've been doing good for a few years now. But I figured to get started with the show, why don't we tell the people a little bit about our UB history, or kind of like why we wanted to do this show. I figured that'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, my biggest attachment to Ubisoft is the Assassin's Creed series. Mm-hmm. I remember playing the first one, honestly not really digging it. I didn't finish it. That was my very first time in the most recent Ubisoft history.
Buddy.
Yeah, I know. But I played Assassin's Creed 2 and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome. Like, I love this." And once I had played Assassin's Creed 2, I had fallen in love for the very first time. But besides that, I liked a lot of their more obscure titles, like the Rayman series. I really enjoyed the very first Rabbids game. I thought that was a really fun game. I know that's probably not a very popular opinion, but and I guarantee I've played Ubisoft games in the past because they've been around for forever. But as far as their most recent, in my adult gaming life, Assassin's Creed was the very first one that kind of attached me to, I love this developer. Like, I really enjoy all that they do. And throughout, I've played more and more, but I think the Assassin's Creed series initially was the one that kind of, that was my main hook with this company. Mm-hmm. And then, fast forward to that a little bit, the Far Cry series got me in as well. Far Cry 3 I fell in love with, and, we've talked before about the newest Far Cry, so I'm not going to talk too much about that here. But Ubisoft is a developer that I always really enjoyed. Never really give them too much thought as a developer, but now that we live in an age where the people are more communicating with the developers, and we actually pay attention to who these people are, they've quickly become my favorite group in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have made some interesting choices back in the day when it comes to their Ubisoft conferences, and certain people that they've had host is just interesting. But kind of my backstory to Ubisoft is, I think probably one of the first ones that got me into the Ubisoft is actually Rainbow Six Vegas.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, I think kind of like you, I'm pretty sure I've played other ones in the past or whatever, but Vegas was probably one of the first ones that I really played, because then after that, Far Cry obviously is another big one for me. I played the original one. And I really liked it, but I wouldn't say that that's what really captured me. I'd say Vegas really captured me, which was 2006. And then I want to say a couple years later is when they had Far Cry 2. And if I'm being honest, that's probably the real moment that was okay, this might be a company to start looking after. Mm-hmm. And then kind of like you said, just how the industry has been going. You look at the other. There's three main polls. Giggity. There's EA, there's Activision, and then there's Ubisoft. And Activision and EA, they're just they can be really money grubby, and they can be really just their practices, whether it be with Call of Duty and the fact that they don't really change that much and they're completely, comfortable with just putting out one thing after another. And then EA is kind of the same, only like even more evil. And then Ubisoft, they still like to make money, but they're still a company. So you can't deny that. You can't say, oh, well, they don't even have microtransactions, or they've never even tried loot boxes. No, they still have loot boxes, and they still have, or they had, they don't anymore in most of their things. Now they're going more the side of, yeah, we still have microtransactions because we do want to make money. But now I feel like they're being a lot more straightforward about it. Mm-hmm. And so, like, even if you look at one of their most recent ones, which was Far Cry 5, everything that you could buy with the silver, which was the in-game currency, you could also buy with the money. And obviously, it would be a lot more expensive with the in-game money. But then they also, you got a certain amount of silver with every outpost. There were certain challenges where you could get silver from. And then on top of that, you could buy it. And the best thing about that is that there was for instance, there's a shotgun, a Spaz shotgun. The regular Spaz shotgun and the shotgun that you get with the silver don't act any differently. They both have the same accuracy. They both have the same recoil and clip size and everything. So really the only difference is that if you bought it with silver, it's this really cool looking flame on it, and that was it. It's not like you got some type of an advantage, which obviously it's a co-op game, so you can't really get that much of an advantage. Well, I guess you could carry it over in multiplayer, but my point being is that you couldn't get some kind of advantage or whatever. And then you look at Origins was another one, and you'll have to talk more about this, but their microtransactions was not too invasive, correct?
Correct. They had the same system that they had in Far Cry Unity. It was the first time I saw it. It was called Helix credits.
Okay.
But they weren't egregious at all. It was to use the Helix credits menu was the same as to use the Ubisoft Club menu. So you just went there and if you want, they didn't throw it in your face at all. Whereas I think Unity was where they first introduced it into the Assassin's Creed series, at least. And that was really more, hey, why don't you buy these Helix credits and you can get this stuff, So it was, Origins definitely wasn't nearly as bad.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's one of the main reasons, because obviously, we've had internal discussions of, well, what if people ask us, why are you making Ubisoft? It's there's a lot to love about Ubisoft, I mean, even if you don't like something like The Crew, you can still appreciate it. It's a scaled down version of the entire United States where you get to race around in. I didn't get into it, but I definitely tried out the beta, and I'm like, I could see where this is kind of cool, and I think it's just, it really has to go down to the way they run their company, not necessarily all the games they have, which all their games have been, accused of, oh, here's a tower over here and here's a tower over here, even though obviously in recent years they've started to get away from that. So that's what I mean by how they run the company. They've realized that people didn't like the towers, and they're like, okay, let's start to change stuff. Instead, if you look at EA or Call of Duty, when people say, hey, we don't like the towers, they'd just be like, well, too bad.
Yeah. While you were talking about that, I'm kind of beating myself up a little bit. Another game that very much got me into this company was Splinter Cell. I remember going to a friend's house and him playing Splinter Cell Chaos Theory on the Xbox, and I'm like, what is this game? This game looks awesome. And then from then on out, I loved that series. Splinter Cell maybe held up to a higher standard to me than Assassin's Creed, just in terms of how special it is. And we'll talk about that more later. But I wanted to bring that up because I completely forgot about Splinter Cell.
Well, see, then it's obviously not that important to you.
You know what?
I feel bad too because I totally forgot about Just Dance.
Oh, shut up. It's too early to bust my balls like that. All right, before we get started, I do want to also give you a reminder to follow us on Twitter at UbiChat. It's spelled how it sounds. We have about 42 followers right now, I believe. So if you can get us to that 50, we'll talk about what we'll do at that point. Also, if you like this, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube as well at Threat X3 Productions. Get us close to that 200. We have about 196 subscribers as of right now. So once we hit that 200, that'll be a great milestone for us. We'd really appreciate that. And then as always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think, see if you like the show, and let's go ahead and get started with the first segment, Chat Room. Now, Chat Room is basically kind of where we catch up, what have we been doing, what Ubisoft games have we been playing, and also kind of just like what's going on like as of right now. So for me, I actually started Rainbow Six Siege for the very first time this past week.
Woo!
First time I ever played it.
How bad was it?
You know what? First off, I knew that the game didn't look fantastic, but whenever I got into it and started playing the situations, which are basically the tutorial for different parts of the game, I was a little taken aback, having just played God of War and Assassin's Creed. I was like, oof, this game does not look pretty. But I played about the first 3 situations, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to take a break. And then the next day, I was like, I really want to play some more Siege. And so it's definitely fun. It's a completely different kind of multiplayer than I've played in a while. I'm not the type... I'm mostly a lone wolf kind of multiplayer person, so this will take some adjustment for me to play more often with teammates than by myself, because this is definitely a game to play with a team.
Oh yeah, so, definitely. I've been playing it too, and I gotten to the point where like going into a casual with just a bunch of people, like a bunch of randos, I'm like, this is just not how it's supposed to be played. So I've sworn off Rainbow Six for now, until I can get a good group together. So, hey, if you guys want to connect with me, you can go to our Twitter, UbiChat, and our Discord will be linked to that as well. So if you prefer Discord, it's linked to the top of our Twitter or the description down below. And let's get a team together, because like I cannot play that game when it's just like me going in with a bunch of randos. It's like, ugh.
Yep. Now let's clarify. Me and you do play on PS4.
No, that's a good point. Yes, PS4.
I almost picked it up on PC because they had a starter pack that was like $10, but I forgot to pick it up on the sale. So if that comes up again, I'll do that. But something that was interesting for me too is I went ahead and picked up the gold edition, which basically gave me access to year 1 and year 2 content, including the operators. But what was funny was when I started the game, I immediately popped like 6 trophies.
Oh wow.
Like back to back to back, and I think that was from unlocking operators and like unlocking the stuff, but it was just like, man, okay, cool.
That's funny.
And the trophies seem to be fairly easy as well, like the initial ones, because like I am getting a trophy each for completing one of the situations, and then there's trophies for like just unlocking gear. And so I guess if you're really big, like if you play Siege a lot, that's maybe an easy platinum. I actually didn't see if there was a platinum. But, besides that, this morning, actually, before we started the show, I started up Far Cry 3 Classic. If you have the season pass for Far Cry 5, about a week ago, I think, it was up for free. And I don't know the update on when it's going to come to retail, like for everyone to get, and how much it'll be. But it's been sitting on my PS4, and I just started it up this morning.
Yeah, I imagine like 3 months. 3 months or something like that is probably the sweet spot. Let all the season pass people get it and feel like they're special, and then okay, here is it for everybody else.
How much do you think it'll be? I personally think if it's over $20, that's asking a little too much.
Definitely. I think $20 is a fair price, especially for how old it is, and the fact that it's not technically like a remaster, correct?
It's not.
How would you compare? Like, does it still have good graphics? Have they upscaled it in any way? What would you say they did to make it look better, if they've done anything?
Well, see, they stay true with the fact that it's classic. It's not remastered. However, well, first off, it's locked at 30 frames. So the initial Far Cry 3 on PS3 was 60.
What?
And yeah, I'm fair. I'll double check, but I'm fairly certain that almost all of them have been 60, like higher than 30. That's what I remember at least. But it actually does look good. It looks surprising. They've done some work to it, but it's not been fully remastered. But even though it's locked at 30, there is motion blur, or at least what looks like motion blur. So, well, no, not like bad motion blur. Like it looks cinematic. Like it doesn't look like a 6-year-old game that just looks kind of new. Like it actually looks good. Like I was actually kind of genuinely surprised.
Good.
So it's also still really fun. That intro I love. That's really just like it just pushes you right into it. You know, this first time you meet Voss. And honestly, the reason why I wanted to play it was I kind of wanted a palate cleanser for Far Cry 5. So, but as I'm playing it, like I got the first outpost. So that's really all I played. I played about an hour. But it reminds me just how simple these games used to be. And it's just nice to go back to that after the games that we have now that are full of complicated open worlds, all this stuff to do, and you just go back to a game like Far Cry 3 that's got a simple open world. You can do this, you can do that, you can craft this, you can craft that, and then that's it. You know, so
it was simpler times. It was simpler times.
You been doing anything else besides Siege?
Siege, and then I started back up on the Division. I have a level 30, a level 12, and a level 10 or something like that, just depending on who I was playing with. The 30 was my solo one, so that's the one I've been kind of grinding out on and getting better gear. And like, they definitely have changed stuff from the very beginning of the game, because like, now that I officially made that ding up to 30 or whatever, like I get much higher gear just by like going around, just by killing people, which is so nice. Oh my god, it's so nice to like actually get good gear, because I think like before I made that ding up to 30, I might get a purple or something like that, but it would only be with a boss, and other than that, it would be all greens and blues. And so it was just nice when I officially made that change. I feel like purple now is the lowest I'll get, which is so nice. It's so nice to just, not have to worry about. And every once in a while I'll get I'm totally decked out in all orange right now, and it feels good because like I don't think there's been a game where I've actually played enough to have all oranges, like the only thing I can compare it to is like Destiny, and I think I got one exotic in that. Like I never grinded it enough, or I never got into it enough to take that extra step and go, okay, I want to deck myself out. Now I'm decked out. Now granted, I'm still way lower than anybody else, so like if I went to the dark zone and there's like everybody with their super high DPS and stuff, I'd probably still get slaughtered, but it's a good feeling, and it is something that I'm like gonna keep at. One thing I like to do, because this actually might be a game I want to try to platinum, but I'd probably just jinx myself. But what I like to do is I have the Survivor DLC, which I don't care what anybody says. It's battle royale. They're like, oh, it's kind of like battle royale, but not really. It's battle royale, and I don't understand why everybody tries. Just because I don't quite literally drop in from a helicopter doesn't mean it's not a battle royale. There's still a bunch of us on one map, and you can play a PvE version of it, and you can also do a PvP version. And I always like doing the PvP because I like that little bit of extra tension. So anyways, let's get off my rant. I like to queue that up and then go search for collectibles. So I get the cell phones, I get the dossiers, I get the echoes, and I start cleaning those up while it's looking for a match because, not as many people play that. And so to find a full match, usually it takes a while, but I can be doing that. I can still fast travel so that I can get to the side of the map that I need. And then after a little bit, after I've picked up a couple of collectibles, it'll finally put me into a match or whatever. And then, I go from there.
Yeah, that's one of the main things that I had liked about the Division when I had my time with it. I played it. I started playing it again early last year when I moved into our new place, and Division is, to me, one of those really good games that you can throw on a podcast and just start cleaning up the map.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I really enjoyed doing that, and maybe I'll get back to that when I move, because I'm actually moving next week, so maybe that's something I'll do if I don't have anything else on my radar.
How far'd you get?
Oh God, as of right now, I queued it up last week, and I started it, and then I wasn't feeling it, so I played something else. I think I'm 23. I think that's my...
Okay.
So, I haven't beat the game as a whole yet. I haven't beat the main story, but because that's mostly what I've been doing is side quests and cleaning up the map,
okay.
beat by beat.
Like if once you move and once you get settled down, we should. I'll get you to the end.
Okay. Go to the end, brother.
It's so much like a lot of people complained about the end boss or whatever, and on the one hand I can see why, but because spoiler, you probably already know it's a helicopter, right?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It's a helicopter. And so a lot of people complain because it's very bullet spongy or whatever. But actually, like, I felt it was challenging and it was fun. And yeah, I don't know. I liked it. But like leading into it, it's like I knew I was getting towards the end. I knew this was the last mission, and I felt like I was going to hate it because that's what everybody else said. I got to the last battle and I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It seemed like a natural end. I hate other games when I get to the end and I'm like, oh, that's it. Whereas this was a very clear, this is the last boss. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't usually happen. So
cool. Yeah, we'll look into that and we'll keep you guys updated.
And hey, we could also connect on that, guys. Get to our Discord, get to our Twitter. Let's, because I know they're starting an event. I don't know if they've already. I looked yesterday and I didn't.
I think it starts this week. I just don't know the date.
Yeah, so you get shields and then you can carry those over to the next game. And so that's one of the reasons I've been trying to get back into it, so I can at least maybe really get into it then.
Yeah. Yeah, I may do that, but it's really hectic right now, so it's something I don't know if I'll commit to quite just yet. But let's go ahead and jump into our second segment, which is Sit Rep. Now, Sit Rep is the place where we're going to have updates for basically the games as a service games in the Ubisoft catalog. So for this week, we have we have a new update coming to Rainbow Six Siege. It's going to be the Operation Parabellum. It comes out June 7th, so just a couple days from the time that you're hearing this. It's apart from having a new map, which is Villa, you got 2 new operators who have some pretty sweet abilities. Like, I watched the video, and I forgot to send it to you, Nick, I'm sorry. But I watched the video that demonstrated the 2 new specialists, and it's some pretty cool stuff. So to start off, you have Alibi. She's got this really cool decoy that she can drop, which if you played Black Ops 3, I think it was Psychosis, was the Cyborg's specialist ability, where he basically made copies of himself. That's what Alibi does, except these are standing. These just stand still. So you throw it down, and like you throw it down in front of a window or something like that. So if someone breaks in and thinks it's you, the cool thing is if they shoot your decoy, then they're marked on the map.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Now there are some ways that you can combat this. If you notice when Alibi throws her decoy down, it's only going to have a basic SMG with no attachments and her starting gear. So if you're using Alibi and you have a different skin, if you have a different outfit, or if you have a different gun, that's an easy way to tell if that's a decoy or not. And
yeah, but in the adrenaline pumping Rainbow Six, nobody's like waiting to see, hey, is that a decoy?
Yeah. Well, another cool tactic I saw someone use was as Alibi, they got rid of their decoy and then stood where the decoy was to like get the surprise on, get the drop on someone. So it's like, oh, that's just a decoy. Oh no, that's actually Alibi, and then they kill you.
Yeah, I don't see that happening too often. Like how quickly, like when I do play multiplayer, like it's a good showcase. Obviously, they're trying to say this is what you could do with it, but it's like how quickly I die, like even just like out of nowhere or whatever. It's like I highly doubt. And then you watch the kill cam, and it's like the second they see you, they shoot and kill you. Yeah. So it's like I feel like the decoy really is going to be more of a marker. Like here's where they are, rather than like to me at least. I mean, if it maybe down the road when the meta changes a little bit, but like I don't see anybody waiting the extra second that it'll take to determine whether or not it's a decoy, because they might be too scared to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you. I can totally see that in real life application, mostly being just a decoy. Like, oh, damn it, I shot a decoy, and now I'm marked. The second the second operator is Maestro. And Maestro has a legit laser camera.
Wait, whose Estro is it?
It's Maestro.
No, it's mine.
So
mine.
Mine. So Maestro's ability, he puts up on the wall this dome camera. And now the camera itself is bulletproof. So you can't exactly just shoot it and destroy it. You either have to use an explosive, or like you can use Sledge, and he can take it out really in one hit. But apart from just being a camera, if you want to actually go on the aggressive, the camera opens up and you can legit shoot lasers out of it. I mean, but you can mark targets like you would. It's bulletproof, like I said. And so you have a really option of, you can either use it as a defense, like, oh, they're here, or you can go on the offense, so it's a lot of really cool. That one's probably more practical in its uses than Alibis, but definitely some things to try out. Like I said, I think I have up to year 2. I don't think I have any of year 3's stuff. So depending on how much I play, if I'll get to use these operators, we'll see when that comes up. But yeah, any more thoughts?
A laser camera. That is kind of cool. And then like
laser.
Have a laser attached to their freaking head. I'm assuming if you go on the offensive, that's when it's not bulletproof. No,
it's still bulletproof. Like, it's bulletproof the entire time. The only way you can destroy it is with explosives, or if you have an operator that like Sledge that can take it out.
Yeah, so then I'm assuming that I would hope the laser doesn't do a lot of damage.
Yeah, the DPS, I think the DPS is pretty low, because when they were shooting at an enemy, it took like a good pop, 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 and it took them out.
Okay, good. Because my problem with that is that if it's bulletproof and you're able to go on the offensive, that seems way too OP.
Yeah.
Whereas if the DPS is super low, then you can pretty much just use it as a deterrent rather than a viable means of, killing somebody.
Yeah, like in a practical application, say, oh, I'm going to shoot at him, and his attention is drawn towards the camera, and your teammate can take him out.
Exactly. That'd be a practical way of or just like you said, marking the people.
For our next segment, we like to call it Watchtower. A little bit of a cheeky take on all the towers you have to climb and a lot of the Ubisoft games, but this is where we're going to put our upcoming announcements, our news updates, things like that, as far as other games besides our games as a service. So for this week, DLC 1 for Far Cry 5 Season Pass is available as of now, as of time of recording, June 5th. It's the Hours of Darkness Vietnam campaign. So I will probably download that tonight and check it out tomorrow and see how that is. But
you'll get a hot take next time.
I'll get a hot take.
Or no, chat room, sorry.
Yeah, on chat room. As far as to connecting to Far Cry 5, the connection is with the character Wendell Redler, and he is telling the story that you play in the DLC.
Back in my day.
I never got to... Did you get to Red? I never got to him.
I can't remember now. That's just the effect of the Far Cry story.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's a lot of ancillary characters that I don't remember. That you're supposed to, because they're like
I'll remember the alien one, because I helped him out with his side mission. That was dope. I liked that one. Even though it bugged out for a lot of people, I really liked it.
Like me?
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't get that thing under the cow. It was so annoying. Anyway. But yeah, look forward to that. The second one should be coming either next month or the month after, and I think that's going to be the Lost on Mars. I'm fairly certain. It's either that or Dead Living Zombies. So
I want to say if they go by the same order that it was in the trailer, which so far they did, because Hours of Darkness was the first one, I'm pretty sure the next one's going to be Aliens and then Zombies. Which, if you think about it, everybody wants the Zombies one, because especially if there's a bunch of Call of Duty fans out there, they're like, oh, I want the Zombies, so they want to save the best for last. At least in my opinion.
Yes, but depending on when the next one depending on when Dead Living Zombies comes out, like if it's the last one, how close is that going to be to Black Ops 4 and all the zombie stuff they're doing?
Good point. Ugh. So,
I really don't know there.
Yeah, it'll really depend on what they actually do with it. At first I was a little worried. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be a horde mode, but then in the trailer it says how there's 7 scenarios subtly there's 7 scenarios that some B-movie guy dreamt up or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, so there's 7 actual things to do rather than Nacht der Oten, which is just a map and you just go as long as you can, because that was the one thing that I'm like, ugh, it's just going to be a horde mode. That's stupid. But 7 scenarios makes me think, okay, there's at least going to be an objective. So now the question's going to be, how long is that going to be? Is it going to be worth the, let's say 15 or no, I guess it's a little cheaper. So if you think about it, it's like maybe $10, if you got it by itself or something. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Hours of Darkness is going to be good. I have a feeling, just by the look of it, it's going to be similar to Far Cry 3 in a sense, simply because of all the bamboo and the Jason Brody was a prisoner of war. I mean, in the terms of how you played it in the game, that's kind of how it seemed. And so that's definitely the vibe they're going for with Hours of Darkness. So I have really high hopes for the DLC for this game, because like we've talked about before, we enjoyed Far Cry 5 up until the end, and once we crossed that finish line, it, to me at least, was a completely different story.
Oh, yeah.
It just soured the rest of the experience. So
yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, just Far Cry 5 in general did not have an end game, because if you tried to go and clear up everything, when you clear each area, like there's no more patrols or anything. Like, I mean, you can go into a mission or whatever, and you can try to 100% it, but it's just there's just not as much potency in the venom anymore, because it's like, well, I don't have to worry about patrols. I don't have to worry about, this or that. And so just the end game was like, that's one thing like most games need to figure out. They need to figure out their end game because when you don't have one, or you at least don't even have like a new game plus or something, it's not just me, it's not just you. Like in most cases, if you don't give somebody something to do afterwards, what's the point of sticking around? I mean, even a single player game, like a good example would be God of War, and the fact that even if you get done with the story, there's so much to do in that game. And that's even a less open world than Far Cry 5. So like, what does that tell you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. And it's one of those with Far Cry 5, once I beat the game, like, as a story, the way I ended the game, it would make total sense for me never to return again.
Right.
So, but with God of War, granted, I still haven't beat God of War, but even then, like, I don't feel apart from, like, a subtle, hey, do you want to continue on our quest, or do you want to do something else, like Atreus would say?
Right.
It's not incentivizing me to finish the game in a good way. Like it feels very natural. Like it's not telling me, hey, you really ought to beat the main story.
Yeah. Screw mom and her ashes. We could go do this other thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, see that's what's keeping me on the straight path. But but besides that, yeah, that's a very good point. All right, so now is going to be the topic of the show. Which
show.
Which is what everyone is excited for, and E3 predictions. So there's a lot of stuff that we already know about what's going to be at Ubisoft's press conference, and there's some stuff that we don't know.
Possibly. And see, I'm going to throw it out here right now. I am of the camp that I hate knowing this much. I genuinely hate knowing this much because the hype of E3 is just diminished when I know something's going to be there. When I know, like for PlayStation, they said, Death Stranding's going to be there. Last of Us 2, I believe. What else? Ghost of Tsushima. And I'm missing one. Do you remember it?
No.
Either way, there's 4 of them that we know are going to be there. Mm-hmm. And Ghost of Tsushima, that one made sense because all we got was a very small look at like PlayStation Experience or something. Or no, not PlayStation Experience. Where was it?
PSX.
PSX. Was it?
Yeah, it was PSX. That's that's the first time we saw
we only saw a very little amount. So it makes sense that we would see it then. And a lot of people would have predicted that. Mm-hmm. But to just know is just like, oh, well, that's no fun. And I know there's going to be surprises. I know that. Of course, they're going to be like, oh, by the way, one more thing. But still, I don't know. I don't like knowing.
I'm with you because I think back to E3s of the past and,
back in my day,
like growing up on E3s, and there was always that like, ooh, what are they going to show off? And you didn't know anything.
Right.
But I think as a whole, I think the industry has evolved to the point where people, instead of wanting to be all the way surprised, are growing up to the idea of, hey, let's go ahead and tell you what's going to be there so we can have an actual discussion about it. So your mind knows, hey, we're going to talk about this. Let me focus on what they're going to say.
Yeah, and I could get that for like the real, the main ones. You know what I mean? Like The Last of Us. I mean, The Last of Us is a really good example that, like, we could probably expect that. We could 100% expect some type of new look at The Last of Us, and I don't think it would have surprised anybody, But, like, Ghost of Tsushima, we don't know how far into development they are. We don't know when the release date is. I'm assuming we're getting a release date, but still, it would have been nice for that, like, it fade to black, and then maybe we hear somebody speaking in Japanese, and we're like, what is this? I don't know what this is. And then it comes on screen, and then maybe they have the title. You know, like, it would have been so much better to find it out that way, because that's part of the fun. Is it fades to black. You know, they always frame every trailer just perfectly, because it's like you're always thinking to yourself, okay, what is this? What is, is it this? And we'll still sort of have that. But when we already have 4 or 5 to choose from because we know they're going to be there, it's like, oh, okay, it's one of these. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's a totally valid argument. So I'm very interested to see, as a whole, how this E3 is going to go and how they handle, because most everyone has done that except for Microsoft. Pretty much everyone's been like, hey, this is going to be here.
That's because they don't have anything.
Exactly.
They have like 8 different exclusives. Microsoft exclusive.
Before we get into it, though, this episode you're hearing right now is going to be our predictions. Next week, this is a bi-weekly show, but next week you're going to get another episode, and that's going to be directly after Ubisoft's press conference.
Bonus episode.
So yeah, you're going to get a bonus episode. We're going to give our thoughts and our reactions to Ubisoft's conference, and hopefully we'll have a guest there with us. I've got to double check with him, make sure scheduling's right, but look forward to that. But to go ahead and get started on the predictions. So far, what we know is going to be there in some way. I'm going to go through the list, and then we'll talk about it. You got The Division 2, Beyond Good and Evil 2, which we'll get into that. Skull and Bones, which is basically their Assassin's Creed 4 Sea of Thieves.
Yep.
Where you play as a pirate ship.
It's more PvP, right?
It is more PvP, yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is going to be the new entry in this series, which, of course, it got leaked. Every Assassin's Creed game gets leaked, apparently. You got The Crew 2. You have a VR movie connection game called Transference, starring Elijah Wood.
Elijah?
Which I didn't know that they unveiled last year. That's something that completely flew under the radar. You have Starlink, which was their Toys to Life game that they showed off last year as well. And then you can almost guarantee there's going to be some sort of update on their games as a service like Siege, Wildlands, and For Honor.
Yeah.
So starting from the top, Division 2, we will for sure see the Division 2. I mean, they've already announced it's going to be there. We're definitely going to see a setting. We're going to see, maybe it'll be a sequel. Maybe it's somewhere in there. Where do you think that it's going to be set?
Yeah, and see, we were talking about this before we started recording. I don't know, but my main thing about Division 2, and this will go back to what I was saying before. Division 2, that would have been a nice surprise, but the makers themselves, it wasn't a leak. It was like, it was planned, like, hey, we're making the Division 2. It's like, guys, come on. But as far as the location, my main thing that I was saying before recording is that I want to go somewhere that I haven't gone before, and like we've been to Seattle, we've been to San Francisco, we've been to New Orleans, we've been to Chicago, we've been to New York. There's so many places we've already been. I want to go somewhere that we haven't gone. Obviously we didn't like Far Cry that much, but the one thing that stood out is the location. We've never been to like a rural area of the United States unless you were like playing a Cabela's game or something. And so I'd like to see, this is 2 things I'd like to see. I'd still like to see a city area because that'll feel very very familiar. But then what would feel fresh is if it was also like right next to a really big open area. And so this way we could have maybe some type of traversal, whether it be like an ATV or a motorcycle or even like a car or something like that. I would like to see that. Because kind of like what we were saying with our last Far Cry episode, our Hope County episode, we were talking about how it's like the apocalypse, but right as it happened, that could be the Division. We could see like roaming raids of, of like raiders or something with their motorcycles and stuff like that, but it's not like post-apocalyptic in the sense that it looks like Mad Max. Everything's still kind of lush and green, but it's also sort of post-apocalyptic, but like right after, because obviously if they still kind of set it within the sort of same time frame, this could be kind of our dream scenario where it's like, well, we get to see it as it happens rather than after all the interesting stuff has already happened.
Yeah, I could. So I totally agree. I think that'd be awesome to see some sort of traversal mechanics via like vehicles. Greg from Kind of Funny on their games cast that they had this past week, he brought up in his prediction of it going to London, which I think would be cool. I agree with him when he said that there's not a whole lot of games that we've actually played that take place in London. London's not a common place that we go to in video games very much. But before we started recording, I had mentioned, because you had brought it up because you were talking about places we have been in games, I think The Division could be cool in like a Seattle or a Vegas setting. And I think Vegas, you combine the kind of city aspects of Las Vegas with the desert. Mm-hmm. That could be really cool in terms of vehicles and bikes and things like that.
Plus, it would be a polar opposite to the type of weather that we got in New York.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, something I just thought about, I don't think this was really a big complaint at all, but you brought up, the starting of the disease. Do you think that we could get more story elements in the Division 2? Like, do you think the Division could start out as a more story game and then progress to what we know? Like, because when you said that, I kind of, in my mind, pictured the beginning of The Last of Us. How it's a completely normal setting, and then everything kind of starts going crazy.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of what I would like to see, because in the original Division, like, you're like the second wave. You're the second wave. People have already been there. It's already been, I want to say, 2 or 3 months or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's pretty quick.
I mean, it's still relatively right after the event, but it's still, things have already happened, is my point. Like, I would like to see some type of, like, it would be cool, like, in, what is it, the cleaners, and then the Rikers people. It'd be cool if this game actually showed us how those got started. Obviously, if it's Las Vegas, the Las Vegas version of the cleaners, like, how did they get started? So instead of them being around, instead of them already having a part of the city taken over, we get to see them rising from whatever. And so then that could also make it interesting, because then maybe the factions are always warring because they're still trying to figure out their borders.
This all sounds really good. This sounds like a game that I definitely would want to play.
Yeah, and then tomorrow we're just going to get proven wrong, and it's like, I don't even want to play it anymore.
Yeah. The Division is a game that I enjoyed and I liked playing, but it kind of turned me off a little bit when I first started it, just because at the time when it came out, that's not the kind of player I am. I don't play like group multiplayer shooters or like MMO type games a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So when that was like the main mechanic of the game, I was like, but then I gave it another shot, like I said earlier last year, and I really enjoyed playing more of it. So if it has more story beats to it, like if it has more of like that's how it kind of progresses, but you still have the multiplayer, then that could interest me. But also, I guess it really depends on the setting. If the setting grabs me, then it's one of those that, let's take a look at this. Mm-hmm. Now, so the next one, Beyond Good and Evil 2, I don't have a whole lot to say.
Yeah.
I maybe played the first one a long time ago. I mean, this game is the sequel is 10 or 13 years, like, in the making, pretty much.
Right.
They're more than likely going to show gameplay off. They showed alpha gameplay.
So real quick, 2003 was the first Beyond Good and Evil.
Okay, so then that's 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're definitely going to see more than we did last year, because last year they basically were like, hey, we're starting to make it. What do you guys want to see in it?
I think that was probably one of the more annoying ones, because we already got like a trailer years ago where like the pig guy was sitting in the desert and then there was like a fly that went up his nose or whatever. So it's like we were already, and I get, developments from hell, and like they start up one thing and then it ends up having to be canceled and yada, yada, yada. But we're talking 15 years and they get the announcement. Everybody's super excited. And then you drop the bomb that, oh yeah, we've started it. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why even announce it? Or at least announce it in the way that they did, because the way they announced it was like, oh my God, this thing is going to be epic 5 years from now. Like, I don't understand why they did it that way, because like, if you look at, I hate to say this, but if you look at like EA and they're like, here's some developer interviews. They're like, oh, we're super excited to work on Star Wars, and that's all they showed. Like, something like that would have made more sense, but for them to have this nice little cinematic, which was badass, and then later on, behind closed doors or whatever, they showed off like alpha. It's like, I don't know. That just it rubbed me the wrong way.
So more than likely we'll see what the game is actually going to be.
Right.
We'll definitely get more information from it. This is one of those that, like I said, it's not something that means a whole lot to me like it does to other gamers. So this is one that, it's not one that's on my list.
Yeah. If it's on yours and you're super excited, maybe let us know why you're excited about it.
Yeah, tell us why you like the series. Tell us what makes you excited for this. But I'm with you. That annoyed me last year. That annoyed me for other gamers, because it's kind of, I see it the same way as if Valve was like, hey, guess what? We're just now starting development on Half-Life 3, the game you've been wanting for years.
See, now that's the one game that could do it and get away with it, I think.
That's true, because it is Valve. People really give Valve like a whole lot of leeway.
Yeah.
So
it's like Blizzard saying StarCraft 3, and it's like, hey, everybody, we made the logo for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Now, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, another one of those, not necessarily on my list, but it looks cool. And I actually
just like a kiss, it's not on my list.
God, Jesus Christ. Skull and Bones, honestly, from what I've seen and from kind of the lackluster reaction to some people with Sea of Thieves, Skull and Bones may do well.
Yeah.
It looks to, and they were probably smart in the sense of, hey, we're not showing anything more just yet. Let's work on more content, is what I think they did.
Yeah.
Because they went quiet for a while, and then they said that they're going to have an announcement at E3. So
yeah, it was that was another kind of weird thing, because it's like, here's this PvP pirate game, and it's not even like an open world PvP from what I gathered. And I mean, they also kind of talked about it, is that instead of it being this open world, which it is to a certain extent, because they need a very large area for ships to be able to, navigate through, but it's instances. Basically, you go into an instant and then you fight it out, rather than something like a Sea of Thieves, where I'm trading from port to port, and on my way there, another pirate ship comes and screws me up or something. This is 100% a PvP game, at least what they showed us. Like, maybe they could have a more open world or single player, but from what they showed us already, it's just a PvP, and that immediately turns me off, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, good for you guys.
Yeah. I'm like I said, it's one of those that I'll be interested to see what they show now. Now that Sea of Thieves is out, but other than that, we'll just have to wait and see what they're doing. Now, the big one for me, because I mentioned it earlier, Assassin's Creed. The new one they officially announced is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Mm-hmm. They announced it earlier this past week. Or, no, they announced it last week. I think it was like Friday. Because the keychain leaked that showed the... it was a short little video. It was like a 30-second... Actually, it may have been a 10-second video that Ubisoft announced. And it just showed a Roman warrior... Right. A Roman soldier, basically Spartan kicking someone off of a cliff.
Yeah. I do have to say, Origins didn't grab me when I played it. And part of it, I think, was its setting. Mm-hmm. One thing you can know about me is I love Greek mythology. That was part of the reason I even put up with God of War, the original one, was because I really like Greek mythology. The gameplay and the story was very straightforward and very early 2000s. But, I mean, what really drew me through it was the Greek mythology and just how much I love it and all the different tales or whatever. So granted, this is obviously going to be a much more grounded game, but being set in Greek and Roman times and getting that setting honestly excites me, you know. So I'm ready to try it out. You know, let's put it this way. I gave Origins like a good, 2-hour shot. I'm like, it's just not for me, whatever. But Odyssey, I could really see, like, I'm at least gonna give it a weekend.
Yeah, so there's a lot of worry with not certain people, with people that, oh no, Ubisoft just took a year break to come out with Origins, and they're coming out with another one the next year. So my thoughts on that are, from the look of it, and by how much Greece is involved in Origins, I think that Odyssey is going to be a direct continuation of Origins. Because even the setting, as far as environment, in that short little clip, it looks similar to some of the environments you see in Origins. So I think it's going to be one of two situations. It could be one where Odyssey is not like the next Assassin's Creed, like you would have your Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3s. This could be a game that's similar to Rogue, where it's between Rogue and Assassin's Creed 4. Rogue and Assassin's Creed 4 are basically the same game, just with some like slight differences, because they are using the same engine and the same mechanics that they both did.
Right.
So it's either going to be that, or it's going to be just another Assassin's Creed game that has a definite continuation and it is separate from Origins. But because of the engine they built for Origins and the mechanics they've used, it's easier for them to just be like, oh yeah, this is another game that has the same mechanics and formula. Kind of like how Square had said after they've released Final Fantasy 15, they said it would be easier to make Final Fantasy games now with this new engine.
Yeah.
So we could see that. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I completely understand your complaints. The setting sometimes puts me off in Assassin's Creed Origins, but Assassin's Creed Origins does a lot of cool things that makes me excited for the future of the franchise.
Yeah. The combat was definitely something that stood out to me. Like, I was glad they actually started putting some thought behind it. Mm-hmm. So instead of just being able to take out people left and right, you actually had to be a little bit more methodical.
Mm-hmm. I've never played a game, an RPG, well, except for maybe Skyrim. I haven't played a lot of RPGs where I enjoy the side quests way more than I do the main quests, and that's the case in Origins. I feel like there's more character development and more like interaction in the side quests than in the main quests. And the character Bayek is just a great character. Like, he's probably one of the best characters in the series. So I have a whole lot of high hopes for Odyssey, if Origins is any indication, and I think a lot of people do as well. The Crew 2. I played a little bit of the Crew 1. It's
the Crew as well?
If you're just now tuning in to this show, you haven't listened to anything else we've done, this is my life. This has been my life for the past 3 months, people. Get used to it. The Crew as well. That was a good one. That kind of left me speechless. Did you play The Crew at all?
Well, like I said, I think they came out with like one of their free weekends or something like that, and I tried it out. And I'm not a huge racer guy, and this is going to sound conceited, but I don't like racing games because I'm like hella good at them. So there's not a lot of challenge.
Oh, look at me. I was thinking about a racing game.
Oh, hell yeah. I was the boss back in the CTR game days. And so like I took what I learned from that and I tried other like racing games and I got so good at them that like, I'm good. Not only that, but I mean, I think I just, you know, I don't know. I never really liked sports games. And I mean, if you think about it, like racing is a sport. And so usually I don't like sports games, but what I did play of The Crew, it's like, I could see what they're going for. And if I'm being honest, if it was like a free play game, I think I could get more into it, you know, cause it was very much like, it was very much Destiny with cars or The Division with cars, where you level up, you're getting better equipment, or not equipment, obviously cars, and you're going out on these huge tracks or something, and their quote unquote raids were pretty much cross country drives. And so it's something that would literally take you hours to complete, just like a raid in Destiny would take you hours to complete. And so that was interesting to me, but
it's just not. Yeah, it's just not.
And then this one's going to have also like planes and boats. That intrigues me just because it's like, you know, now it kind of varies the gameplay a little bit more. So that alone might actually make me want to give it a little bit more of a try.
The Crew is a game that I am really interested to watch and to see what happens with it. Like, this is it's not a game that I can't say for sure that I will actually play, but I'm interested to see what it does, because that when they announced it 2 years, I think it was 2 years ago, it seemed really cool, like an MMO that was vehicle based.
Right.
That, like you said, the raids were cross country drives. Like, that sounds cool to do with friends, but it's, again, I'm not that kind of player, so it never really hit my desk. You know, I never really touched it. So, but this is one of those games that, out of this list of things that don't interest me, like, you know, when we talked about earlier, this one I am more interested in and would like to see what they do with it.
Right.
The next one on the list is a VR game, which I'm fairly certain for sure is coming to PSVR, as far as the other ones, but it's called Transference. This completely flew under the radar for me last year. I have no knowledge or information on this, so this E3 is going to be my first take on it. And I don't think you did either, because when I said it to you, you were like, "What?"
Yeah, I never heard about it.
So they announced that that's going to be there. They're going to talk more about it. So Starlink, when they announced it last year, looked like a Toys to Life game, because you had figures that you could put on your controller and like that. You know, they had trailers and stuff like that showed off all that stuff. With this, though, I think this is actually a rumor, is that this game will no longer be a Toys to Life game. Like, that whole system, they're not going to have anymore. Well, I mean, and it makes sense, because you've had Lego Dimensions, Disney Infinity, Skylanders is still going on, but that's targeted at kids.
Well, yeah, and like the last Skylanders, it's actually been like a few years since the last Skylanders, whereas before it was coming out every year. They were coming out with a new line of toys. So for them going a couple years and not having something, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, so that is a rumor that they are not doing Toys to Life anymore. So this may just be a cool, like, arcade-ish multiplayer Starship game. So we'll find out more information on that as well. Now, that's what we know is going to be there. As far as rumors and potential surprises go, I have a couple. I think it's almost certain, almost not even confirmed, that we are going to see a Splinter Cell game this E3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll announce it at Ubisoft's conference, though. I think they'll announce it at Xbox's conference, at Microsoft's conference.
Right, and then be like, see more at the blah, 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 right?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do, because they've done a lot of Splinter Cell reveals at Microsoft's conferences in the past. So
because they need it, too. They do.
They do.
They need a win. Anthem isn't enough to keep them going.
Yeah. It's one of those that they have to. I mean, they have to be. Why would you have a DLC for Wildlands where you got to play with Sam Fisher and you brought Michael Ironside back to play Sam Fisher? You don't do that just for a DLC.
I don't know.
And I think if
they're pretty awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it was awesome, but I think they're smart, and I think they notice, since Metal Gear really isn't around anymore, and we really don't have a stealth-based game anymore after Metal Gear Solid.
God rest it.
They could, God rest it. They could really corner the market and have a really, really good new Splinter Cell game. I mean, the last one, Blacklist, came out in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been several years.
I'd say at least 5.
Moving on. No. Splinter Cell is one that I will a brick if they announce it, because I want this game so bad. So this is going to be my game of the show if they announce it.
Yeah. Game of the conference.
Someone actually had I think it was Greg Miller, had a prediction, or had a idea of what if the new Splinter Cell kind of took a story beat from Batman Beyond, where Sam Fisher is like your mentor.
Ooh.
Like old Bruce Wayne, and there's a new character that's going to be the operative that you play as.
That would be cool, because somebody like me who doesn't give a rat's ass about Splinter Cell, it could be a good way to get me into the story without having to know what Sam Fisher has gone through, what his character arc was, or anything like that. That could be interesting, especially for, new players. So it could be somewhat of a soft reboot.
Yeah.
Really soft, because Ubisoft.
Yeah. We need to have from now on, I think we're going to have a counter for puns, for Nick puns, and then we'll calculate them at the end of the show.
I'm sorry.
The next one that we could see is a new Watch Dogs entry. They could announce that. That for sure, I think, will be at the Ubisoft conference. I don't see that announcement being at any other conference except for Ubisoft's.
Yeah, and I mean, if the leaks are to be believed, then it could be set in London.
Yeah, I really hope there's not a whole lot of games going to London. But that would be cool. Watch Dogs, I think, could be cool in that setting. I honestly think Watch Dogs would be really awesome in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what the game is centered around, is the tech and the kind of near future stuff. So that could be really cool. Watch Dogs 2 was fantastic. Watch Dogs 2 was a really, really fun game. So let's see what they do with that. There's a possibility that there's going to be a big Rainbow Six Siege update. Now, whether that's a sequel Rainbow Six game, I don't really know. I don't think so. I don't think they would do that. But there could be some really big new continuation for that game. And timing-wise, it would be right. I mean, that game came out in 2015. Like, the base game did. So we could see something similar to them doing a Division 2. It could be that same kind of situation, but we'll see there. Now, the next one I have, I really don't think it's going to be likely, which is a Ubi character in Smash.
Huh.
Now, I don't think that's going to be a possibility, because Ubisoft's press conference is before Nintendo's. So there's a very, very, very slim to none chance that there's going to be any mention of Smash before Nintendo's conference.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is going to be a possibility maybe towards the end of E3 week, because they've already kind of announced that there's going to be a Microsoft character in Smash. So maybe we'll see like a Rayman. Someone said Rabbids. They would see Rabbids as either a character or a stage in Smash. So,
since there was the what was the XCOM game that they had?
Ubisoft, was it the Declassified, the one that was like a shooter?
No. The Rabbids. What?
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I could see them going over to Smash just because of that. They've already got there, and it would even be funny if, instead of having different, like for instance Mario, you could have different colors of Mario. So instead of having different colors of Mario, you could have them dressed up as the different characters. So like, I think one of the Rabbids in the game has like Peach's outfit, one of them has Luigi's outfit, so like those could be like the different, so the rabbit itself would still say the white rabbit that and then it would just change its outfit depending on like what color you want to be.
Yeah, I think that there's almost going to be a Ubisoft character in Smash, because I mean they are already showing that they're working together like they did with Kingdom Battle. So
yeah, I
just don't think that's going to happen at Ubisoft's conference. I think it's going to happen at Nintendo's.
Well, I don't know, like if you think about it, if they, Kingdom Battle was at Ubisoft, so they could, Nintendo's E3 conference is, or Apple Tree or whatever the hell it's called, there's one of the main things they're going to be focusing on is Smash, but
Apple
Tree, yes,
Direct, they're called Directs.
Yeah, sure. Treehouse, isn't it called Treehouse?
Yes,
or something?
yes.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
anyways, like Palm Tree, whatever. So they could have the announcement there, but then they could still have, they could still say that, hey, we are going to be working with them, and you're gonna have the Rabbids in Smash. And so like the main announcement is still Nintendo, and they still get to show off all the different characters, and they get to have their open tournament and stuff like that. But they're like, hey, the Rabbids are going there, and they could have like a little itty bitty a new challenger, and then show off like their thing. I guess it depends on, is Ubisoft first or second? I don't know when they usually
Ubisoft
have their...
is before Nintendo.
Oh, so
Nintendo's
is
the 12th.
Darn it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think you have a point in a sense where we could see, hey, check back tomorrow for an announcement with Ubisoft and Nintendo. But since it's Smash, I don't think there's any way that a Smash announcement is going to be at Ubisoft before Nintendo can even talk about the new Smash.
True.
So,
darn it, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think
Yeah.
about the time frame, you know what I mean?
Yeah. At the most, I think we'll get some sort of, hey, we're still working with Nintendo. Check back later for more information on that. I think that's all we're going to get there.
Yeah. Little wink and a nudge.
Yeah. Now, the next one I have, or the last kind of potential surprise or rumor
Red Steel 3.
Yes, Red Steel. They could announce a new Far Cry.
Ooh.
There's a rumor that is on the dock, and that the setting is potentially in Cuba. Now, my question to you is, what does that mean? Do you think that could have something to do with what we talked about on the last episode of Hope County, where maybe they kind of go back to a formula like they had in 2, where
maybe they launched the
more
nukes.
Realistic? Ooh, that's an interesting beat. That's an interesting story beat.
I know, but what would we be doing in Cuba? Like, other than, yes, another dictator taking over an area and then we try to liberate it and yada frickin' blah. I don't know. Although, if we could go the route what we were talking about and we're playing as the bad guys, like, I don't know. Then you're screwing up all your Cuba people who want to buy the game.
Yeah. One thing that I thought when they announced, or not announced, when it was rumored Cuba, maybe we could see Miami sections in this game. Maybe if they did something
on all night on the beach to the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami.
Maybe they probably won't because they haven't picked up this formula since 3. But you know how you had your main enemy in 3 was Voss, and then when you got to that second part of the game, you had Hoyt. So what if it was something similar to that, where you had this person you were facing in the main part, and then you went to Miami to finish out the game? That could be interesting, because then that could still tie back to the U.S. You would still have parts of it that's in the U.S. But I don't think what we presented on that last episode is going to happen. Although I think it would be cool.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I wasn't trying to get your attention. I just had to cough.
Okay. I think that would be really cool, but I don't think they're going to do that, because if they would, there would be some speculation that, hey, it's going to take place in the U.S. again. Mm-hmm. So I only say similar to Far Cry 2 because I can see that, granted, don't know the geography or the terrain of Cuba, but from things I've seen before, it kind of looks similar to the setting like I saw in Far Cry 2. Uh-huh. So geographically, by the look of it, maybe that could be an indication that they're going that route. Like, hey, we're going to do mechanics like we did in 2, but people didn't like it, then we're going to try it now. So, you can overheat your gun, or when you pick up a gun, it may not work.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
they need to do something different. They really do. They need to take what they learned from 5 and then do something
not nuke
better.
It.
yeah, not nuke it.
I guess my main thing would be the same worry that people have about Odyssey, and the fact that we don't normally get like a Far Cry every year, so to suddenly get a Far Cry right after a Far Cry, I mean, because even this Far Cry, how many times can I say Far Cry?
Far Cry.
Even this one came out in, what was it, March, or was it the end of February? Wasn't? No.
March. It was March.
March? Okay, that's what I thought. I don't know why. I just had a brain fart. So this one just came out. So I feel like unless... I don't imagine...
I see where you're going.
3 months. It's been 3 months since the last one. Is obviously my point. It's been 3 months, and all of a sudden they have another one. Now, granted, yes, Ubisoft is huge, and they can have one of their many, many offices working on it. But I mean, just why? That would be my thing. And I feel like, even though a lot of people might like Far Cry 5. I feel like the overall reception of it was just kind of like, yeah, this is pretty cool,
Yeah.
Which was kind of our reception of it too. The game, talking about gameplay, obviously, we really liked it, but then like the story was just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's there, and now I don't have a reason to go back to it, So yeah, I mean, I just I don't see it happening this soon, I think that rumor, if it is true, is something that they're just starting to work on. So we might not see it until next E3.
I think that one in particular, a new Far Cry entry, I think that one on the list of what we know and what may show up is probably the lowest one.
Definitely.
If we actually see that, I will be surprised, because you have a point there. We typically don't. I mean, it's about a 2-year development time between the games, or between one to the other, as far as when they release. So they never announce in the same year that one released. Like the only one I can think of that happening would be Blood Dragon.
Exactly. And that was a DLC. Since we already have a full season of DLC, I don't see why they would want to do that.
Yeah. The only other thing I could think of is, if it's true, maybe while they were developing it, they were really high on it, but maybe there was someone that was like, hey, this may
they're
not
from
get
Cuba.
Received. I mean, this may not get received as well as we think, so let's have another one in the can just in case.
Let's try again, guys. Everybody try again.
But I'm with you. I don't think, if we get one next year, that's going to be weird. It's going to be really, really weird. And it makes me wonder what they're going to do with the game, like if they're going to do a shift from how they've had these games in the past. So, like I said, this is the one I think is the least likely to happen. But if it does, it's going to be a big surprise. Especially, like you said, it's been 3 months since Far Cry 5 released. So we're finding more information out about a new Far Cry this soon. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe one thing that I don't think you were thinking of, like is it time for another Rayman?
I think the next thing we're going to see with Rayman is probably going to be in Smash. I think we'll see Rayman as a character in Smash.
Really? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people liked Origins. Legends did even better. So why not another Rayman? And I mean, even they're keeping it sort of relevant, even though Rabbids have become their own thing. They're keeping it sort of relative by keeping the Rabbids relative, So I don't know. Like, I feel like it's been a while. Like, if we take a quick look here, let's go. Rayman Legends. Okay. So Rayman Legends came out
in 2013.
and a 9.5 at IGN, 90% on Metacritic. So it's still a really, well-loved thing, and we haven't heard a peep. Maybe that could be their big surprise. Other than, yes, they have that cell. I think it had a splinter from some wood or something. I don't know. That thing, plus Rayman, I think those could be
what you said.
Those could be some really cool announcements. I think, especially since they pretty much leaked the entire freaking press conference or whatever, it would be nice to have a little bit of a surprise, and maybe that could be it. If we're talking, you said 2016, right?
2013 was Legends. That was the last one, I think.
Whoa! I guess it's.
They re-released it to the new consoles.
Right, it's confusing because it's like it came out first on I want to say the Wii U, and then
the 360, yeah,
and then the 360. So that's probably maybe why I'm getting confused.
The most recent entry was Rayman Adventures, and that was 2015. But that's got a 2.5 out of 5, and it's a 73 Metacritic.
Isn't that the mobile game? Or
yes, it is Android and iOS. Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought because so that one doesn't count just because, anybody could have done that one. I'd like to see another Rayman from those people. Because I personally really like Legends. Did you ever play it?
Legends I played a little bit of, but I actually loved the 3D Rayman games. Those are the ones that I had played.
Maybe it's time for another 3D. Odyssey did so good. Okay. So we have absolutely no hopes of Real Steel 3. Red Steel. God dang it!
maybe as a VR title.
Ooh,
that's the only way I can see it.
I don't know. I don't see them jumping ship and going over to PSVR.
See, Red Steel was a motion game.
Well, right, but you still have motion.
There's no other motion.
There's motion on the Switch. It's not as intricate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking if it was from... Oh, that's right. It was a Nintendo thing. So, yeah, okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
I was thinking if they wanted to do it in addition, like if they wanted to switch from Nintendo, they could do it as a PlayStation thing and do PSVR, but...
Yeah, I don't know if they would go that way. Maybe he could be a character in Smash. It's a Nintendo company, I think it'd be a good callback as far as just having an obscure character, because I don't think a ton of people are like Red Steel is the best game ever, but then the second one had kind of like a cowboy looking guy. It had a very different feel to it, so having that cowboy samurai looking guy in as a Smash character I think could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe that would be interesting to see. Okay. God damn it.
I'm sorry. It's just...
No, you're good. You're good.
I love you.
I do. All right, well, that does it for our E3 predictions. Let us know if there's anything you're looking for, if there's anything you're excited about. Are you excited about any of the things we talked about? Is there something we missed? Is there something that you think that they'll surprise us with? We talked about Rayman there briefly. That could be a good surprise. But, make sure to check next week for the Ubisoft press conference. We're going to be doing the reactions. After that, it's going to be a bonus episode of this show. So let's see what we're wrong about. Let's see what we got right. And I think that's going to do it for the first episode of UbiChat. Really good show. At least I hope so. I feel like we had some good conversations here. Want to go ahead and remind you, though, to check us out on Twitter and YouTube. YouTube at ThreatX3 Productions, Twitter at UbiChat. And check this weekend. We're going to try to live tweet. I know Microsoft's conference is on Saturday, and I think there's going to be some Ubi announcements. So we'll try to live tweet and see what's going on there. So make sure to tune into that. You can also check out our other podcast, Nerd to the Third. That's going to be on podcast services as well, and on YouTube, as UbiChat will be as well. And anything I'm missing?
No, I don't think so. Discord in the description below or on pinned to the top.
Yes, you can join us at our UbiChat Discord server, where we just kind of just talk and chit chat and just kind of have a good time. And if there's any games as a service or multiplayer Ubisoft games you want to play with us, hit us up. We play on PS4. I do have some PC stuff, but if you want to play The Division, Rainbow Six, if you want to play The Crew, anything like that, let us know, and we'll see if we can get that together. But so yeah, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of UbiChat, and we'll see UB later.
No.
Damn.
We be seeing you later.
Okay, I like that. All right, this has been the first episode of UbiChat, and we be seeing you later. Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better?
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Because we're keeping it.
Yeah.